In this video, I'm going to talk to you about getting our quilt tops ready for quilting. So you might want to quilt this yourself, and in that case, we will go through those steps. Or you might be ready to send this off to a long arm quilter and let them work their magic and give it back to you all quilted. So either way, you will need a few things to get ready to do the quilting on your heart quilt. So the first thing is the quilt top. You want to give your quilt top a really good press. So you want to make sure all your seams are laying flat. And if they aren't laying real flat or you're having a little bit of trouble getting them flat, this might be a good time to use a little bit of starch. So just spray it a little bit, press those seams out nice and flat. I just use a really basic starch that I find at a big box store, so it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can use the starch, or if you prefer not to use starch, even a spray bottle with water, just spritz it with water and then really give those seams a nice press. One of the things long arm quilters like is if you do a stitch around the perimeter of your quilt top. That just helps secure each seam so none of these seams will start pulling open as they are quilting it. I will admit I'm terrible about doing that, but it's not a bad idea if you're going to send it to a long arm quilter. So if you're going to send it to a long arm, just want to make sure it has a good press, all your seams are nice and flat, and then you will either prepare your own batting and send it with your quilt top, or most long arm quilters have batting options. So that will be up to you if you want to send a batting or just use what they have on hand. Okay, when it comes to batting, you are going to want your batting to be about 3 inches wider on all sides than your quilt top. So you want to make sure your batting has a little bit of room on the edge of it. So usually it goes quilt top, your batting's a little bigger, and your backing is even bigger than that. So if you want your backing to be at least 4 inches on each side, then make sure your batting is at least 3 inches. It's okay if your batting is bigger, it's just you don't want it to be too small. There are tons of different battings you can use on your quilts. I tend to stick with a cotton or a cotton poly blend. So for some reason I buy 100% cotton for myself here at home, but I always have my quilter use an 80-20 cotton poly blend. I actually prefer that cotton poly blend because it has a little more drape, it's a little softer. So I think next time I order for home, I'm going to do that cotton poly. So if you do a lot of quilting, it's actually really nice to have a lot of batting on hand. So I tend to buy my batting in a large roll like this, and you can buy a roll like this at places like Joann's, or Amazon sells it by the roll. So it's really, you buy it in bulk and then you just have it on hand for whenever you need it. Or you can buy your batting by the package. Each time you need a piece of batting, you can buy it the size you need in a package. Okay, that is to get you ready to send this off to a long arm quilter. So now if you want to go ahead and quilt this yourself, which I'm going to go ahead and quilt this one myself, you will need a few things. Oh, I didn't talk about the backing yet. So just like you want to press out your quilt top and have it nice and wrinkle free and your seams pressed nicely, you'll also want to do the same for your backing. So I know we're going to fold it all back up if you're going to send it off to a long arm quilter, but take the time to press it all out and then fold it up carefully and send it off that way. Or if you're going to do it yourself at home, same thing. We're going to give our backing a really nice press. Okay. So getting ready to baste our quilts ourselves. There are 2 different ways you can baste a quilt. One is the traditional, use basting pins. Now these are a special little curved pin. It makes it a little easier to get it into your quilt. So you can pin baste, or you can do spray baste. Spray basting is my preferred basting method. It's quick, it's easy. I just have so much better luck when I spray baste versus when I pin baste. Now with that being said, I would prefer to pin baste. I don't necessarily like having to spray extra stuff on my quilts. Supposedly it washes out, and I haven't noticed a difference between quilts that use spray basting versus they don't, but it is something to keep in mind as you learn how to baste your own quilts. Okay, so to get ready to baste your quilt, so you'll of course need your quilt top, you'll need your batting cut to size, your backing prepared to go, whether you're going to use pins or spray baste. you will grab either of those, and then you'll need a tape. You'll want a good tape to use because we will be taping our backing down to a flat surface. I have the best luck when I have a nice open floor area and I can tape down on that floor area. So before I got my new floors, I would use this kraft tape. So this kraft tape is super sticky. It works on just about every surface. So this would be an option, or you can use painter's tape. Now I couldn't for the life of me understand how people had any luck with painter's tape until I got new flooring. So I think my really, really old linoleum flooring was so, I don't know, maybe it was so coated that this painter's tape wouldn't stick, and I had to use this. Well, now I can just use painter's tape. So either way, painter's tape if it works for you, or find something that's a little grippier like this kraft tape, because we will be taping our backings down to the floor and you don't want them moving once you have them taped. That is what we need to go ahead and baste our quilts, make our quilt sandwich, and get them ready for quilting. So I am going to take you over to my kitchen where I do my quilt basting, and we will go ahead and start basting our quilts.